Hello everyone, welcome back to the SBRE. In today's video, we're taking a look at the 2019 crime drama movie, Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix and Robert De Niro. Joker tells the story of a party clown named Arthur who tries his best to make it in society while taking care of his ill mother. But as days pass by, he realizes that society has abandoned people like him and decides to give back to the society and its elites what they really deserve. Watch the video till the end so you don't miss out on anything. Now just sit back, relax, and enjoy. The movie starts in a dressing room where Arthur is putting on his clown makeup and getting ready for a gig. He forces himself to smile as the TV in the background reports about the garbage emergency in Gotham City. The scene shifts to a busy marketplace where we see Arthur dressed as a clown flipping a sign of a restaurant trying to attract customers when a group of troublemakers take his sign and run away. He chases them around the city and finally corners them in an alley. As he's walking down pleading with them to return his sign, one of the boys slams the sign into his face, knocking him down. Then they proceed to beat him up before leaving. Arthur pulls himself up and searches for the sign again, only to realize that it's broken in pieces. Now Arthur sits at his psychiatrist's office, laughing uncontrollably, telling her about his bad day. She half-heartedly comforts him before asking him for his journal that he was told to bring. He's been using his journal as a notebook for stand-up comedy, and when the doctor sees a line that says, "I hope my death makes more sense than my life," she confronts him about this line, but he brushes it off as a stand-up comedy joke. He insists that she should prescribe him more medication, but she refuses, saying he already is taking 7 different medications and definitely didn't need any more. Riding on a bus, Arthur is depressed, thinking about his miserable life when he sees a kid staring at him from the seat in front of him. He starts making funny faces and makes the kid laugh. His mother doesn't appreciate that and tells Arthur off. Arthur starts to laugh uncontrollably and struggles to stop. When the woman furiously turns to him, he hands her a card that says, his laughter was an involuntary action that happens at random times regardless of what emotions he was feeling. After a bad day, Arthur walks home and is greeted by his mother Penny, who immediately asks if she received any letters. Arthur couldn't understand why she keeps sending letters to a powerful man like Thomas Wayne, and why he would even remember someone who hasn't worked for him in 30 years. Penny is positive Thomas would help them lead a better life, and Arthur doubts it. But he doesn't correct his mother. Instead, they watch Murray's show together. In a flashback, we see a young Arthur among the audience of Murray's show. He gets called on the stage, and Murray speaks very highly of him, which motivated Arthur to get into stand-up comedy. Back in the present, Arthur is at his workplace fixing his clown boots when a coworker named Randall comes in and expresses sympathy about what happened to Arthur. He then pulls out a package and offers it to him. In it was a gun and some bullets. Arthur laughs and tells him he wasn't allowed to have a gun, but Randall insists that he keeps it for protection in this horrible town. Arthur gets called in by his boss, who's very upset that Arthur disappeared from his job and took the owner's sign with him. He doesn't believe Arthur when he says that he was jumped by some boys and demands that Arthur return the sign or pay for it. He further tells him how he should behave better because his coworkers find him weird and don't like him. Arthur simply keeps listening with a forced smile on his face. On his way home, he meets a girl named Sophie and her daughter who lived just down the hall from him. Arthur is immediately taken by Sophie, so much so that he follows her to work the next day. The same night, Arthur is dancing around the room holding the gun Randall gave him and suddenly shoots the wall thinking it was empty. The gun was loaded and it immediately fired with a loud sound, waking his mother. He spends the next day following Sophie around and taking notes about stand-up comedy, but when it comes to writing down his own jokes, he fails to come up with anything funny. His doorbell rings and he finds Sophie on the other side of the door. Sophie confronts Arthur, asking if he was following her. Arthur couldn't deny it and instead invites her to attend one of his stand-up comedy shows, and she agrees. Arthur is very happy the next day as he performs in a children's hospital, but accidentally drops his gun, making the atmosphere very tense. His boss then calls him and fires him for carrying a gun with him, not believing him when he tries to lie that the gun was part of his new act. Arthur is stunned when his boss reveals that it was Randall who had told him that Arthur had tried buying a gun off of him. He couldn't understand why Randall would lie like that. He's on a train when suddenly a group of drunk men start harassing a woman. As the woman looks at him, Arthur starts laughing uncontrollably, which angers the drunk men. They change their target and come for Arthur, who tries explaining to them about his condition, but they're in no mood for listening. They immediately start beating him up. Suddenly, one of the men is shot in the head and the other one in the chest. Arthur had pulled out his gun. He was about to shoot the third man, but he manages to escape. Arthur chases him down the train until the train stops. He then sees the man trying to run away and shoots him until he's dead. Realizing what he had done, he makes a run for it and locks himself in a public bathroom. But instead of being panicked, he dances around happily, and for the first time, it feels like he's free. The next day, he returns to his workplace to collect all of his things. He brushes off everyone's sympathy and calls out Randall for giving him his gun. Randall immediately becomes defensive, but Arthur simply smiles and leaves the place. We see that something has changed about Arthur. He's home with his mother when she suddenly calls on him to watch Thomas Wayne on the TV. Thomas was getting interviewed about the subway murders because the 3 people killed were employees of Wayne Enterprises. Arthur is triggered by Thomas's remark about how the murders were probably an act of jealousy and how the fortunate people see the less fortunate as clowns. The next day, he's at a psychiatrist who gives him the bad news that their office is closing due to the lack of funding from the city, and that today is his last appointment. She also bluntly tells him that the city doesn't give a shit about people like him or her, and that he's gotta fend for himself. After getting the bad news, Arthur goes to a bar where he's about to perform his first stand-up comedy, and Sophie was there to watch him. He gets on the stage and starts laughing uncontrollably. He tries to say his joke but stutters his way through his script. No one laughs around him, and it's a big fail. But Arthur feels good about himself. He and Sophie go on a date where he sees his clown face plastered all over the front page of every newspaper, and he feels a sense of accomplishment. He returns home in a good mood to find his mother sleeping in the living room. He takes her to bed, but she keeps insisting that he mailed a new letter she had written to Thomas Wayne. Curious about what she writes, Arthur opens the letter and is shocked to find out that he's Thomas Wayne's son. He confronts his mother in anger, and she finally confesses about her past affair with Thomas, how they were in love, and how she could never say anything because she signed some papers. The next day, Arthur goes to find Thomas Wayne at his house, only to see his son, Bruce Wayne. He shows Bruce some of his tricks and looks a little jealous of him as he stretches Bruce's mouth into a smile. Suddenly, Alfred appears and gets Bruce away from him. When Arthur asks to meet Thomas Wayne and tells him about his mother, Alfred seems to remember him. He tells Alfred how he knows Thomas Wayne is his father. When Alfred laughs and calls Penny delusional, Arthur starts choking him and stops only when he sees Bruce. Going back home, he sees his mother's getting loaded into an ambulance. She has had a stroke when 2 policemen were questioning her about Arthur. Arthur gives the policeman vague answers and leaves to see his mom. He's by his mother's side when the Murray Show plays on TV. His mood gets a little better when he hears Murray's joke, but the show suddenly starts playing Arthur's stand-up comedy clip and Murray starts to mock him. He didn't seem to remember the encouraging words he had told Arthur all those years ago, and he feels betrayed that the man he looked up to would tear him down like that. Arthur is depressed and alone in his apartment when he finds out about the rally against Thomas Wayne. He feels powerful seeing what he had created. He crosses the rally the next day and goes into the theater that Thomas is sitting in. He waits for Thomas to be alone in the bathroom and confronts him. Thomas recognizes his mother's name and tells him that his mother is delusional. They never had an affair and also reveal that he couldn't be Arthur's father because Arthur was adopted. Arthur doesn't believe him and continues to provoke him until Thomas punches him in the nose and warns him to stay away from Bruce. On the other hand, he keeps getting calls from the detectives asking him to answer a few more questions. He ignores everything and stays home until one day he gets a call from Murray's show asking him to come on as a guest. He accepts their offer and heads to Arkham State Hospital to find out the truth about his mother. He waits as the worker confirms that his mother suffers from delusional psychosis and narcissistic personality disorder. But as he reads more, he refuses to give Arthur any further information without a proper signature. Arthur becomes frustrated and runs away with the file. He hides in the stairway and reads through his mother's paperwork. Turns out he was adopted by Penny, who suffered from a delusion and always claimed that Arthur was Thomas Wayne's child. And when the doctor showed him proof of adoption, she simply dismissed it, saying Thomas was simply trying to hide their relationship. Not just that, Penny was also negligent of Arthur when he was a child. A series of newspaper clippings show that Penny allowed Arthur and herself to be abused by her ex-boyfriend. When the doctor asks her why she didn't protect her child, she simply says it's because he never cried and was always happy. She didn't know he was suffering. He returns home questioning his entire existence. He heads straight for Sophie's apartment and sits on the couch. But Sophie is startled by his sudden appearance. She doesn't seem to recognize him as anything more than the man who lived down the hall. That's when Arthur realized that all the time he had spent with Sophie was in his own delusion. There was no Sophie with him. The real woman didn't even know him. He's back with his mother and is starting to realize that all his life he's been living as someone he's not, and blames it all on his mother for always forcing him to be happy when he's never truly felt happiness. He then suffocates his mother to death and finally feels free. Arthur is back home getting ready to attend Murray's show. He's putting on his clown makeup when his doorbell rings. It's Randall and Gary, his ex-co-workers, who were there to cheer Arthur up after they heard his mother had passed away. Arthur tells them he's never been better and he's even stopped taking his medications. But turns out Randall was here to talk about something else. He tells Arthur how the police have been looking for him after they had met Arthur and wanted to know what he had told them. Arthur becomes agitated when Randall starts talking like he cares about him. He pulls out a knife from his back pocket and jams it into Randall's neck, making blood splatter everywhere. Gary was scared he would be next, but Arthur tells him he's free to go because he was always nice to him. He leaves his building dressed as the Joker and dances around happily before he sees two police officers trying to follow him. He immediately starts running, making them chase him. He crashes into traffic and runs into a train which is filled with clown faces. He realizes that it was the day of the rally and everyone was wearing a clown mask. He rides among them, but the police officers aren't far behind. He takes the mask of a stranger, starting a fight that stops the officers. One police officer pulls out his gun and accidentally shoots someone, making everyone attack them. Arthur happily walks away from the chaos. In the studio, he meets Murray and his assistant, who's worried about Arthur's clown makeup. But Arthur assures him that he wasn't political, and his makeup was just to make the audience laugh. He also tells Murray to introduce him as Joker, because that's what he had called Arthur when he was making fun of him. Murray doesn't seem to remember calling him that, but agrees to introduce him as one. The show starts and Arthur makes his entrance with a happy dance to entertain the audience. Murray then asks Arthur to show everyone some of his new material. Arthur pulls out his joke book and he searches for a good joke, but Murray keeps making fun of him. Arthur finally cracks a joke about someone's death and it doesn't sit well with the audience and Murray, who stops him from making such jokes. Arthur apologizes and says that it's been a rough few weeks for him ever since he had killed those 3 men on the subway. The audience is stunned by his revelation and starts booing at him. Murray didn't believe him at first, but quickly realizes that he's telling the truth. The two get into a heated argument about why Arthur killed those men, and Arthur confronts Murray, saying he's as awful as the rest of them. Murray's had enough and tells his team to call the police, but Arthur too has reached his breaking point. He pulls out his gun and shoots Murray in the head, killing him on live television. Joker is now sitting in the back of a police car, watching happily as they pass the riots on the streets, when suddenly an ambulance crashes into the car. 2 clowns get out of the ambulance and pull Arthur out and place him on the hood of the car. Slowly, all the people start surrounding the car, and when Arthur wakes up, he realizes that everyone is cheering for him. On the other hand, we see Thomas Wayne and his family exiting a theater when a clown follows them and shoots Thomas Wayne and his wife, leaving Bruce as a witness for his parents' death. The final scene shows Arthur in a mental asylum talking to his previous psychiatrist. He kept laughing uncontrollably, but refuses to tell her what he's laughing about. Moments later, he exits the room, dancing around and leaving bloody footprints behind. That was it for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed the video. What are your thoughts about this movie? Would you watch it? Have a movie you want us to recap? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.